Welcome everybody, I'm Sophie Clarke. I'm the Managing Director of We Are Juno CIC. So we're one of those, did you say 1,400, Andrew, community interest companies in Liverpool City region. Juno exists to try and develop brilliant homes for children who can't live with their own families using a model of care that really kind of prioritises relationships, and a business model that makes sure that our financial model is a kind of ethical one. As and when Juno is making surplus, we'll be using that to support preventative kind of children and families work. I'm looking at a room of people, social enterprise leaders, charity leaders, funders, who I know, like me, probably don't get out of bed in the morning because you're dead excited about money. And as Mel said, we're here because we care about social change, we care about our communities. I also know, as somebody who's fronted Juno since it was kind of started in 2020, I know how important it is that we get the money right. And I know particularly how important it is that we get the right social investment partners, particularly to power startup and that kind of phase, but also to see us grow and thrive. We've had to raise, well, this shows how good my financial modelling was at the start. We thought we had to raise 2 million. We had to raise 3 million, we found out. So I've sat on a lot of, I've pitched, to every investor in the country at some point. We've got a really brilliant and supportive network of investors and grant funders behind Juno. So I know firsthand the highs, lows, and I've got the war wounds to show. So I'll be chairing, but I will, pop in at points if I think there's something that we can share from a Juno perspective. As was kind of highlighted in the intro, I'm keen that this isn't kind of a mechanical conversation. Obviously all of our investors, potential investors, are here today and can take you through some of the technical details of their arrangements and things like that. What I'm hoping that this session will be is a much more kind of open discussion about the reality of it, about the human side. How do you find the right money? How do you bring your board on the journey? What's it like? What have you needed in place to actually get there? And what does that support look like? Because, ultimately, I think the goal is that we not only find the right investment, but we really succeed with it. So that's the plan. We'll have a discussion for probably about 20, 25 minutes, and then we'll be opening it up to you and to everybody online to kind of ask questions. That Slido thing, I'm the least techie person. People online, please do fire your questions in over there. I'll be kind of keeping an eye on it as we go through, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. Everyone in the room, we've got a roving mic, so just put your hand up or shout if you've got something you'd like to say. If you're shy and you want to just put it on Slido, you can as well. Does that sound okay? Right, I'm going to start by introducing our panel guests. Well, I say that, I'm going to make you do it. So can you just give us your name, your role, and one sentence about your organisation?
Hello, I'm Matthew. I'm the founder and Chief Executive of Adding Value Consultancy. So we're a purpose-led financial management consultancy and accountancy practice. We're part of the infrastructure of the social economy, I'd say. We're here to support charities, social enterprises, responsible businesses in understanding their finances so that they can manage that with confidence and have the social impact that they really want to have. We're a company limited by shares. We have a mission lock. We're based here in the Blue Coat. And I suppose we've supported lots of organisations to raise social investment and get social investment ready. And at the same time, we have received social investment ourselves twice from the Key Fund and from Kindred.
Lovely, thank you. Matthew, Brendan?
Hi, I'm Brendan Hegarty. I work for NatWest Social and Community Capital. So we're a registered charity and we're a social lender. So we provide kind of flexible finance to support charities and social enterprises with their mission. So we look at what you kind of need and we structure it to kind of fit your needs so it can work for you. But we're here to kind of support you in the journey as well. So hear more about it later, I think.
Lovely. And then Paula.
I'm Paula Brown from Livv Investment, which is part of Livv Housing Group. So it's a housing group based in Knowsley. And we've got a social investment fund for Liverpool City Region. So that's for organisations either based in or having an impact within Liverpool City Region. And we've been doing social investment for best part of 10 years now. We had a previous fund that was for the whole of the NatWest. But this fund, which Livv have put their own money into, is to help basically to invest in organisations that will have impact where our communities are. So, yeah.
Lovely. Brilliant. And also joining us hopefully soon will be Romanah Buchanan. And Romanah is the CEO and Artistic Director of Eloquent Dance. They're an organisation who do lots of kind of beautiful work, award-winning work, supporting communities through arts and dance. Hopefully she'll magically appear and we can all give her a big round of applause. Okay, well, to kick us off, I'm a big believer in let's never be afraid of asking what could be seen as a stupid question. So what is social investment? And I think, you know, how is it different to grant? How does, apart from the obvious, what makes it different? And who'd like to kick me off? Paula, you look ready to go.
I will, yeah, because we run some workshops, and one of the issues we cover is the difference between grants and social investment, and the advantages and disadvantages. Because lots of organisations that we might speak to say, "Oh no, we don't want a loan. We only want grants." Obviously, I'm sure most of you know that grants are increasingly difficult to be successful in applying for. There's several issues really, because with social investment, I suppose you're masters of your own destiny, whereas often with grants you might have to perhaps shoehorn what you're doing into a grant funder's programme. So that, you know, that's one of the advantages of social investment. And whilst it is repayable, when that loan's repaid, then the additional income and the additional impact that you're having can continue, you know, after the loan's repaid. So it does help you to grow, develop, look at new ways of income.
Lovely. And, you know, obviously from a Juno point of view, we were a new organisation, and it had always been part of our business plan that we knew we would need investment from the beginning. I'm conscious that there might be people in the room or online who, you know, you've got an established organisation. So maybe starting with you, Matthew, like how do you know when it's the right time to think about investment? And then maybe Brendan, Paula, you could talk a bit about like what does readiness look like from your point of view. But yeah, Matthew, when was the right time? How did you know?
Yeah, I suppose we get approached by lots of organisations and they've got a great idea, and then it's how do we make this happen? And so if then finance becomes a barrier to making that happen, that's where you start thinking about where does the funding come from? Could it be grant? Could it be loan? And, you know, sometimes we're approached by organisations who just think, oh, I've never heard of social investment. They just think they have to go and get a mortgage, get a bank loan. And here's a great alternative because it's about social impact as well as funding. So, yeah, the starting point is having an idea. How can you make it happen?
Yeah. And from your point of view, Brendan and Paula, when organisations approach you, there's a lot of chat about investment readiness. Like, what does that really look like?
Yeah, so investment readiness, there's loads of chat about investment readiness. We spend loads of time talking about organisations become investment ready. Fundamentally, you have to have a sustainable source of income. So a business trading income that is away from grant income. This is kind of income streams that will allow you to service debt, because social investment is debt. It has to work for you, but it is debt. So having sustainable income streams is vital. We don't lend to anybody who's solely reliant on grant funding. And then there's other things as well that we look for. So we ask for a minimum of 4 non-related trustees or directors. The reason for that is because they bring a diverse range of skills with them. So if you have a board that has finance experiences, Sophie's saying she doesn't like finance. So somebody on the board who likes
far
finance,
more qualified than me.
yeah, and will challenge you in the right way for it. So having a board that has diverse skills that fill the mission of the charity. So looking at the charity now or the social enterprise and where you want to be in the future, understanding what skills you need. If you're shifting from grants to business trading, you need somebody with business experience, commercial experience to support that. So having a diverse skill set on the board is key as well. So those two are the main kind of areas, but you have to be ready as well.
Yeah.
Is it worth mentioning the Reach Fund at this point then?
Yeah, dive in.
So a lot, to get investment ready, there's the fund. The Reach Fund is out there to help you get investment ready, and that can support you with business planning, financial planning, marketing, market research, those kind of things to get you. I mean, the point here is that investors need to see a very clear business plan about how the money's going to be used and how it's going to be paid back. And that business plan and creating that process is a really important interrogation, I suppose, to really make sure you understand what you're doing, what your plans are, where the risks are within that plan, and your mitigations against those risks, and how that will impact on future repayments.
Yeah, at this, for organisations, for trustees, and for the investor, being really clear that this idea is going to work. That if we're going to bring trustees on the journey, non-execs, you need that plan to be solid. So yeah, things like Reach Fund can be used to help test the thinking.
Reach Fund is to get you investment ready, but it doesn't mean that you actually have to then apply for social investment at the end of it, because you might go through the process and realise that social investment is that you're not ready.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not in the event that you don't apply for investment for any reason, the Reach Fund isn't repayable. So I think the idea is that obviously the work that you've done to get to that stage has strengthened the organisation anyway. So. But it is a really good tool to get investment ready.
Brilliant. And I guess, for those of us in the room who might be, at a point where the plan is there, where do we find these investors? How, my experience was, we went to the Social Investment Group, is it called, SIG, which was an environment in London where lots of investors came together and we could kind of pitch to everybody in one go. But it was still, I guess, from a kind of organisation point of view, we weren't masters of our own destiny in the sense that it depended who came back to us. It wasn't as proactive on our part. So yeah, I'd be interested to know, maybe Matthew to begin with, what in terms of how do you find the right investor? Where are you looking? How do you know?
Well, the first thing I would say would be go onto the Good Finance website, and there's a whole...
Ooh, he's got a brownie point. Bit of promo.
There's a whole list of investors, and I think there's loads of investors, but they're all different. I suppose that's the point, and they all have different emphases and different areas of interest. Some are like local, so for example, Livv Housing, you mentioned that you're focused on supporting areas... investing in areas where your tenants live. So if you were London-based, there would be no point in applying to Livv Housing. I mentioned that we're a company limited by share, so I know that I couldn't really approach NatWest Foundation because our governance arrangements wouldn't fit with the criteria for NatWest. So yeah, find the right investor, and obviously there's a commonality of interest, and through that process of dialogue and building up your business plan and getting your investment ready, you'll find that you've got the cultural fit and cultural understanding between investor and investee. Yeah.
And I think it's all about just conversations initially, really. Have that conversation with potential investors, and then you gradually build up trust between you. I think that's essential as well, so that the investor can really understand your organisation, your impact, your aims, etc. And then you can get to know the investor. And this is, before you're actually putting pen to paper on a business plan, really.
Brendan?
Yeah, I kind of mirror what Mel said earlier, that it's a relationship for a long term that you're kind of doing. So it's important that you have the right lender for you. It's important that you kind of both are working towards the same goal and it's working for you. So it's going to be a nightmare 5 years, 10 years, whatever. You're going to have sleepless nights if it's the wrong one, if the money's not working for you. So you don't have to take the first one that you see. There's loads of resources out. It's conversations, as Paul was saying. So finding the right one for you, just talking through kind of what you're looking for, where you want to be, and finding how they can support you to get where you want to be as well.
Yeah. And, you know, from my perspective, we had a really strong plan. You know, the business plan was really, really clear. I think for Juno, because our work sat close to, well, you know, we deliver children's social care services, which lots of funders see as a statutory, you know, it is a statutory duty of local authorities to finance. We did find it very difficult to raise that investment at first. I mean it when I say I think I spoke to every investor in the country. It took us 2 years to raise the funding for Juno. However, I think even when we got a no or a not yet, we learned so much. You know, what is it? What is it that you're bothered about? So is you know, have we got enough scrutiny of quality and safeguarding at our board level? Have we, you know, what's the relationship of local authorities to the organisation? And actually for us, the catalyst for social investment really moving was that Juno was, hello, we said we'd give you a clap, welcome. Hi Romanah, I'm Sophie, lovely to see you, okay?
Hello everyone.
So you're literally diving right in, is that okay? There's if you want a glass of water. Or
Go straight in.
okay, lovely. We're just talking about kind of how do you choose investors. Yeah, and you know, from a Juno perspective, it was when the local authority themselves became an investor that it really changed the sort of, ultimately it changed our risk profile, I think, for some of the other investors that we were talking to, because crudely, if our main customer was a partner in this, then it really raised confidence. Track record ultimately was the barrier for us. But, you know, 3 years on, 4 years on, some of those investors that we spoke to and did give us a no at the beginning are now part of our gang. So, yeah, you know, even if it's I'm not sure this is quite a right fit, having that relationship, as you say, Paula, having got to know each other. But Romanah, you're straight in from Crewe. Tell us a bit about like how your kind of social investment journey, who you're working with, how you found the right investor for your organisation.
Yeah, great. So morning everyone. We are partnering with NatWest. Brendan, who's incredible, shared a panel with Brendan before. But Eloquent were at an interesting stage. We went in for investment and we weren't quite ready. So I remember going in for the application. I was pregnant with my first daughter and I was like, let's do it. It's time to grow. And had many things that we needed to work on that we currently weren't in a stage or ready for investment for. So I put the application in, jumped on a Zoom with Brendan, and very much was very honest and was like, look, this is a great idea, a great organisation, but you're just not ready. There's a few elements we'd like to see. Back office stuff that needed cleaning up, admin, governance, board needed to be a bit stronger. And it's interesting because when we started Eloquent, we started with a lot of passion and a lot of like enthusiasm, but then there was a lot of that back office governance and finance stuff that we just were missing. So we went on a trajectory the next 18 to 24 months of working on those things that Brendan had told us we needed to work on. And then I was like, it's time to go back in. Let's do it.
Again.
Let's go in again. And actually, the feedback the first time, it was about not taking it personal. I feel like a lot of times when we get feedback as founders, we're like, oh, we're defeated, and we find it's a personal thing, and it's completely not personal. I was very objective, like this is what the business needs to work on, and then this is what me as a founder needed to work on. So we did that, went back in. Still were things we needed to tweak, still conversations we were having with Brendan, and then it was successful. But I think going into NatWest and getting that feedback and then being open to being like, this is where you need to go to develop, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely coming back into this funder again.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. And how, in terms of have you got a trustee? Have you got trustees at the organisation, or is it non-execs?
Yeah, but non-execs. Sorry, yeah, we're CIC.
How did they feel about social investment? Was it?
Oh, good question. As a black-led social enterprise, I brought it to board, and it was like, oh. Can I be honest? I brought it to board, and it was like, oh, can we go for a grant? Something we don't have to pay back. And I just wondered if that was something culturally that we weren't very comfortable in going, let's take on investment that we need to pay back. Because then it meant we needed to gear up our commercial income. We couldn't just take this grant and wing it. We needed to look at our income line and be like, hello, we need to make more money than what we've set out to do. And that was an initial rub of a conversation as a black-led organisation. Like, if we're going to go down this route, how many other black-led organisations take on social investment? How many are successful?
Yeah.
because we're not trying to die on this hill.
Yeah.
So what does the success rate look like for black organisations that have taken on money that they need to pay back? What does our infrastructure need to look like to hold it?
Yeah. Although, I mean, I don't know if you've seen Sumerian Partners did a fantastic report about social investment, and black-led, female-led women organisations are the best payers. Pay first, like literally. So, yeah, it's a really brilliant report. Guess who tends not to? Anyway, looking at my white male colleagues in the room. To get me out of a mess, Paula and Brendan. When what's your experience of the kind of trustee journey, and some of the kind of barriers that you typically see play out?
We've had a couple of occasions where we've been talking to maybe the staff, the exec of an organisation, but they haven't actually had that conversation with the board. And then they've come back to us to say, oh no, the board won't take on a loan. They don't want the risk of a loan. But we will, it's essential that you involve your board at an early stage. Your board, as we've mentioned, should be, diverse skills and experience, 'cause that's really important. And that they're truly involved in the business and the organisation. And depending on the type of funding that you've got as well, I mean, some investors like ourselves, the loans are unsecured. So we say, well, the risk is ours.
Yeah.
Unless you're taking on longer term secured funding, which is generally for property, where they'll take a charge over the property as security. Our funding and lots of other social investors' funding, loans are unsecured. So, yeah, it's our risk. Yeah. Which is why, we need the confidence that you will be able to repay it. So there is a certain amount of due diligence and things that we have to do on the financials in particular.
Okay, that's really helpful. So there's the kind of bringing the trustees on the journey. There's finding the right partner for you. Matthew, you obviously spoke a bit about Reach Fund, and that there's, that's one avenue if you want to sort of get a bit more support around being ready. And so, but what else? You work with other organisations who need support to access investment. What does that support look like? What are you seeing? Is that a weird question?
Yeah.
What sort of support are you giving organisations so they can get investment?
Right, I suppose it comes back to that first question about what's the investment for, and I suppose you go back to principles about you could grow your organisation and your impact through just like reinvesting surpluses, so bootstrapping you might call it. The point about investment is it speeds things up, it makes you move faster. And going back to what you were just saying there, Romanah, about the process of getting investment ready is also about getting ready to scale. So for our own example, we didn't have a board when we first approached Key Fund, and that was one of the conditions of getting the Key Fund grant, was we put a board in place. And that's been really important in terms of our own governance and risk management. And also all those other back office things about, your financial reporting, because obviously investors want their money back, so they need to see that you're managing your finances. So I'm not sure I've answered the question there.
No, definitely. And Romanah, did you access any external support when you were getting ready for, submitting your request for investment? Like, what did that look like for you?
So I know we were eligible for the Reach Fund, but we didn't go for it. But I have this thing where I like to call it like my personal board of like directors. So the organisation's got one, that's great, but I've kind of like devised my own that have been on the journey before, that have taken on investment, scaled their organisations. It was about me bringing my cash flow to them and be like, I beg you, lend two eyes to this. What do you think? Pick it apart. What does the business plan look like? And they're all people that are just a bit further along on the journey than me, that could be like, you know what, I've got 5 minutes, man, let me have a look and let me help you. Yeah.
Brilliant. And, I guess from my perspective, it was a bit, as you said before, Brendan, leaning into the people who've got the skills in the organisation that can help bring some of those things forward, as well as the track record question when Juno started, what was our impact going to look like? Was a very valid question that a lot of our potential investors asked. getting our theory of change much tighter. You know, we worked with colleagues in capacity to make sure that we were really, really clear, not just about, you know, what would happen, but how would we measure that and how would we track that over time. You look like you've got something important to say.
I'm going to stick up for boards a bit here, because I think they're getting a bit of, like, having the right board and having the right challenges from your board is correct.
Yeah.
They have the legal responsibility, so they have to challenge you in the right way. They want you to be sustainable. They want an element of control,
Yeah.
and they want to control the risk. So the right risk is key for them to ask the right questions to get to the stage where you're going to be in a better position to present a funding application, or look for, or manage the funding when it comes in as well. So I think it goes back to good governance, doesn't it? To having the right board and having those challenges. Challenging isn't resistance. It's just supporting you. So bringing them along the journey will save you so much time later on the line if you don't bring them in. So having them on board from the very start and bringing them on the journey, even if it's like a subdivision of the board, like Romanah was talking about, people who have the experience of taking on social investment, managing it afterwards, that's all vital as well. So
because there's the details are in there, aren't they? You know, what's the, you know, things like what's the impact of a 1-year repayment holiday versus a 3? Some of the, you know, again, it's stuff that I have to basically put matchsticks in my eyes to listen to. But it's you know, we had a really difficult first year at Juno, and if we didn't have those, not just the, you know, what number have we got in terms of what, you know, how much income have we got, but what are the fine details of how this arrangement is going to work? You know, is the flexibility around holiday repayments, because actually it's taken us longer to generate the income that we thought we would. Those details are vital. And as you say, you know, a really brilliant FD or somebody at that level should be able to guide and spot some of those nuances.
And if you don't have that, I would say it's more of a risk.
Yeah. Okay, I think before we open up and you know, listen to everybody else's questions, I just wanted to say, like, one of the things that spooked me a bit, and this, you know, I grew up in charity land, and, you know, we only ever had grants. This kind of idea that if you had an investor, they were like, you know, these powerful, all-seeing scary finance people. But, you know, I think there is a bit of a kind of narrative that it creates a power imbalance. Like, maybe, I don't know, Matthew and Romanah to begin with, like, what's your experience of that been? Is it real? You know, has it even been a thing for you?
I'd say, well, first of all, you've developed this relationship by finding the right investor in the first place. So you have the first power is choosing the right investor. And then secondly, I suppose, in my simple head, investors are only after 2 things. One is social impact, and the other one is getting their money back. So as long as you provide them with enough information about those 2 things, you know, quarterly management accounts, quarterly social impact report, you'll keep them happy and they'll stay away. But obviously, they're very friendly, and if things
no power imbalance at all. Just a completely dysfunctional relationship. No, I jest.
But no, it's a supportive relationship, and obviously it's ongoing dialogue, and they're great because they can see risks before you can see them sometimes, and they can approach you and say, have you thought about this, have you thought about that? And it just gives you time to actually address issues.
Brilliant.
Do you know what's interesting? You spoke about power imbalance, and I had to kind of like train my mind not to see it. I almost see it as they're really fortunate to be working with us. Like, super fortunate, because our impact is incredible. We've got incredible beneficiaries. Our organisation does amazing things. So even though the money is great and it's helping us to scale, I genuinely do see it as a partnership, because you've got the money that you need to see impact from, but we're on the ground doing the work. And for those of us that are on the ground doing the work, how hard is it? How bloody hard is it to do that work on the ground and then think about strategy, growth, scaling? So to do the 2 in tandem, I almost see it as it's not a power dynamic shift for me. It's a brilliant partnership, and you're privileged to work with Eloquent.
Yeah, I love it. But, you know, and it's a respectful relationship. As you know, it's certainly been my experience. You know, we've had some really hairy moments. And it, you know, genuinely, I think as long as we've been open about it, you know, which we have, it's felt like a team of people who they deeply care about what we're doing. The other thing, just on a technical note, is, at Juno, I think we've got 5 or 6 social investors at the moment. That could create a lot of work, but, we were really upfront with our, partners at the beginning about, can you just be one team? If we can just do one report for everybody, we have like quarterly learning sessions with everyone's kind of come together and flex their monitoring process so that, from an organisation's point of view, we're not having to. So little things like that, have made a big difference. And I think, again, evidence this sort of collaborative. But Paula and Brendan, from your experience, you're on the other side of the fence. Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't be in this if we didn't sort of start off with, well, we want to help. So, you're doing great things. We want to support you. So I don't think there is that imbalance really to start with. Because, we want to look at anything positively, really.
Yeah.
And so whatever we can do to help you sort of get it right is, it's sort of win-win for both of us then, really.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so there is a power imbalance because one organisation is looking for funding and the other organisation is providing it. So structurally there is an imbalance. But you're absolutely right, Romanah. Our mission is to lend impactfully. So we can't do our mission as a charity if we don't have organisations like you. So there is an imbalance, but there isn't an imbalance, if that makes sense. I still get nervous when I speak to any organisation because you guys are the experts in what you do. You know the sector, you know everything inside out, and we provide funding to help you get where you need to be to do more. So I don't think there is an active empower. It is a partnership, and we want it to be a partnership.
Yeah.
But I think we do.
You're nodding. Could you two work together? So.
I'm also nodding because I think that it just really helps for your investor that you pick to understand about the imbalance as well, particularly for, speaking personally, Black and ethnic minority-led organisations. It's harder for us to get investment anyway. And Brendan recently won an award for diversity and working in the space. I'm going to mention it. I know you didn't want me to. But I just felt like speaking to Brendan, felt like I was talking to an ally. And when you know. And I just felt really safe. And we don't always feel safe as Black founders. So I think it was important for me to share that as well.
Brilliant. Hats off, Brendan. Okay, well, we've got loads of questions flying in. So I think I'll take one of these, and then is there a roving mic around somewhere?
I've got one. And I missed one really important thing. I did my hosting duty rubbish. I forgot to tell you that on Slido, if one of the questions on Slido you really like, you can upvote it so that Sophie can say, oh yeah, that's the question I'd really like Sophie to post. So you can just do your ups and downs.
Brilliant. Oh, a bit of...
sorry, it was a bit of
competition.
Bit. I forgot, wasn't it?
Love it.
You're making me go up the back. Am I going up the back?
Yeah, we'll take this guy at the back, and then I'll take one of our online questions, and then come back to you. Is that? And Ella, did you have your hand up? Lovely, this guy here. Lovely.
Hi there, my name's Robert Kroll. I'm founder of Epiphany Flow, which is an ecosystem business for diasporic community-founded organisations. So just to your point, I just wanted to ask, how do we work together with diasporic-owned ecosystem businesses to create more equity and understanding of how to access funding and finance? That's really important because even in the social investment space, there are certain underlying unconscious biases that exist that still do play, and ultimately where there is a power imbalance between the lender and the business, that power imbalance has had a negative impact on the UK GDP. So my question is, how do we further boost ecosystem businesses and help grow them that from diasporic-owned organisations to help boost diasporic-owned businesses?
Oh, what a brilliant question. Who wants to go first?
Brendan?
How are we boosting?
I mean, I have thanks, Robert. I think it's just true conversation, isn't it? So having Romanah here is brilliant because you're hearing it from a personal lived experience side. if you heard the same story from me, you just go, yeah, whatever. But having a conversation, an open conversation, a safe place to have a conversation, and asking the questions just to kind of remove the barriers. And I was trying to kind of this year remove the word barrier and say what the actual barrier is.
Yeah.
And I'm not managing to do it. I'm still saying barrier, but there's loads of different barriers. So even just having a conversation saying like, this is where I'm struggling, this is what I'm not managing to achieve. There are people there who've gone through the same struggle, the same issue, and they've navigated it well, or they're still struggling. You can work together in a collaborative way. But I think just conversation, open conversation.
I think what's also important to add is it's looking for the right opportunity with an investor that understands that barrier. So when I went in for investment for NatWest the first time, they weren't partnering with Do It Now. Whereas when I went in the second time, there was a program called Big Business where they were partnering with Do It Now, particularly to support founders that look like me. And I seen it and I was like, this is perfect timing, because I wasn't just getting investment, I was getting mentoring and support and training from a Black-led social enterprise. Do It Now, if you don't know them, incredible company. I've just finished my 12-month mentorship with them. So I'd say it's looking for the right opportunity. It's not about taking any social investment, but the one that's right for us.
Brilliant, brilliant. The 9 thumbs up have been given to this question. What exactly has social investment allowed you to do? So Matthew and Romanah, I'm going to look to you two first. Has it been a salary, for example, to develop services? What have you used the money for? Matthew, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so we've been funded twice. First by Kindred, who gave us, I suppose, working capital as we were a startup at that point. So it helped us to recruit staff at that point. We were growing rapidly. We needed to recruit staff whilst new business was coming in. So it gave us the confidence to recruit staff confidently. Yeah. The second investment was from Key Fund, and that helped us to diversify our income streams by moving into more commercial areas, into responsible businesses as opposed to just pure charity and social enterprise. So
is that staff costs, really, that were being covered?
It was actually an acquisition cost.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. Romanah, how have you used your investment?
Workforce and marketing. So developing the capacity within the organisation and then getting us ready to diversify our income streams. We're getting ready to launch a performing arts college, but I'm this big fan with a big vision, and I'm like, I need a team to help me go to the next level. So when I went back into NatWest, it was very much being honest about this is where we want to go, but I can't run on my own, so I'm going to need some people and then the right marketing to communicate what we're doing. So I've been able to bring in an executive assistant who's been transformational.
Brilliant. And from a Juno point of view, we've used investment for to purchase properties for our children's homes. We've also used investment to fund refurb costs. We've used investment to cover working capital and kind of revenue ahead of income. It's really expensive to open a children's home. We're probably $250,000 before we've looked after one young person. So, yeah, we've been able to use it in a range of ways. And, as Paula said, some of those arrangements have been completely unsecured. So we work with Postcode Innovation Trust, for example. They had like a blended finance option, so it was grant and investment at the beginning. And that other investment that we've had, it is secured against assets. So, a real kind of blend in terms of how we've used it. Oh, sorry, it was you. Lovely.
Hang on, I'm coming.
Thank you, Romanah. My question is to everyone. Now, being a Black-led woman, founder, and you were even in England. I'm coming from Scotland. The barrier is higher and it's difficult to break. So I am looking to see who is going to get me to answer this question. No matter what, we've tried, we've done it ourselves, invested our money, but we can't seem to break the barrier of the community itself. When I went to my board to say, let's take social investors, it was like, keep looking for funding. And I don't want to keep looking for funding because the demand for what we are offering is increasing. What we do is, my name is Esther. should be the first thing I should have said. And I represent the RSP project, where a CIC focusing on tackling loneliness and social isolation by getting women to leave the environment where they are feeling the loneliness to go to a new place. Over the last 3 years, we've taken women in groups. You're going to go with a stranger and come back with a new friend. Many people don't understand the impact of loneliness on unpaid carers, on single parents, on empty nesters. Those are the people that we focus on. Yeah. Loneliness can push you to the point of suicidal ideation. I was at that point myself. And starting to rebuild my life and seeing that I'm not the only one, and I've seen other women who want to go away and leave everything behind for a few days. I know they go back to me and say, oh, there are organizations that give you a respite. Yes, they do, but they give it to you solo. It's still you alone. But with our project, we're taking them in groups of 2, 4, 6. The last trip was a group of 12. The next one is a group of 30. Mm-hmm. But we're looking for investor, and we get to this place where nobody seems to believe, oh, that's a visible project. But we keep increasing in numbers, and the possibilities are there.
Is the barrier with your trustees?
The barrier, the trustees have come to the place where now they've allowed me to visit this, to come down here and do this. So now I know that one. I know I've broken that barrier. I can now go out.
Scousers will brainwash you.
But then sending me down all the way here, it's only because Good Finance said, we will support you to come. Yeah. Thank you. And the reality is, how do I get people to believe in Scotland and in a Scottish black woman trying to establish and seek investment outside of Scotland?
Okay, so brilliant Scottish investors. Mel, you look like you know the answer.
I might be able to help. Just sitting next to you, because I sit on the board of Social Enterprise Scotland, and I sit on the board of a Catalyst fund in Scotland. And so we'll have a little chat, shall we, about some people that we should introduce you to.
There you go.
I can't promise the investment, but I can definitely make the connections that you need in Scotland.
And
I would
just
say,
to say as well, Mel, we do operate in Scotland, so I think you spoke to Tracy already. Yeah. So you're in the right room.
Tracy and I were in the same hotel. Checked out and it was just a case of coming here, and we live in the same locality.
Brilliant.
So
it's like, I'm kind of blessed.
That was going to be my next thing, that Tracy's in the front row, and actually there are quite a lot of lenders here that they may not be as visible, I think. Always, Tracy's very visible, but they may not always be as visible, but there are lenders that do lend in Scotland, but it's just about making sure that you know who they are. So you're definitely in the right place anyway.
Brilliant. Is it the beauty of actually being in a room with people? Or in a hotel, in this example. Okay, I'm gonna take another question from Slido. Elisa has asked, what advice would you give to a 3-month-old organisation that have programmes, networks and partnership, but need help, need a kickstart? Oh, is it you? Hello. Sorry, have I asked the right question? Is it about kickstart funding? Oh, a CIC.
Yes, no, I mean, when I meant that is we have all the things.
Here.
I was not supposed to. Oh, hello. So my question is basically because obviously I'm a 3-month-old baby. And I'm looking for knowledge to learn with the experts and to gather networking. So basically, during these 3 months, we secure a place at the Old Courts in Wigan for our community-led project. We gather some networking with some woodland around Wigan. We gather some projects with another CICs, which I'm developing for the Art Fund, for Misplaced CIC, for the Wigan and Lee Care Centre. So, and we have the base, but we need sustainability. But we need a kick, help, you know what I mean? Like, boom. If you could just give a little bit of to a pilot project.
Money.
Yeah.
Matthew?
I think there's 2 things. One is demonstrate your social impact, and you probably already, through the work you're doing, gathering up these case studies, examples, testimonials, just structure that, capture those things, and then you're building a case. And the second thing is build up your business plan. So that's thinking about your mission, your values, where you're aiming for, and then you're then just presenting a case to these guys and finding the right person to. But yeah, if you're really a baby, there's more risk, obviously, isn't it? You haven't got the track record. So, yeah, I understand that.
And you know, my gut says it kind of grant for where you are now. You know, so you've got that security to test.
What I'm looking for is obviously, I don't think that, oh, has $1 million for you. No, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's how or what's the right steps to get where is, for example, Romanah or you as a new organization, as I don't want to be relying funding, obviously.
Yeah.
So I want to be structured and secure.
Would it help to kind of explain what we look at when we look at a social investment? So when any organisation comes to us, we look at the impact. So how you measure your impact, how you tell the stories, what impact you have. We look at the governance. So the governance is all around the kind of the board, the skill set at board level and senior management level. So we have 4 non-related trustees or directors in place with diverse skill sets to support you. So legal, marketing, finance, whatever it is. And then we look at the affordability. So the affordability has to be there. You have to have sustainable business trading and then regular income to come in to service a debt. So those are the kind of the main things that we look at. As a social lender, we have kind of place-based approach. So we look at kind of Northwest, Midlands and Scotland. Other lenders will look at different things, but it's understanding kind of, I suppose, where you are now and what you want, where you want to be as well. So you may not have all of these in place now, but you're aiming to get them in place as you go along. So you can start kind of early stage conversations with a lender, and we can look to see, well, okay, you're not quite hitting this, and this, but with some work you can get there. So what Romanah was talking about, she went away and worked on those things and came back with a full presentation. Sit down, you're listening to me. This is what we've done. This is what we've got in place. So at least you know where you need to be.
Yeah, and you know, and who else is around you who can help? From, you know, I found it was, you know, as you said, there's the personal boardroom in terms of who can you go to ask for advice. You know, in Liverpool City region, we're lucky. We've got Kindred, we've got capacity, we've got organisations like Matthew who are there to help early stage organisations. Your CVS network in Wigan, you know, plug into that, and there'll be other leaders and organisations at a similar point. And I think there's the community of people around you will help. But I'm sure we'll both have a gab with you after. But can I just? We've got lots of questions online. But did you have a question as well? And there's somebody up here.
Hi.
What else they're looking for? Brilliant. But you're happy you've heard what you needed? Okay, amazing. Lovely, thank you.
Hi, I'm a Cheney. Grow to School CIC. We are a community interest company, work in West Yorkshire, delivering outdoor learning and food growing in schools. We have a strong trading history. I suppose my question was around, you mentioned that you started We Are Juno through investment alone without a trading history, and that your partnerships and relationships were really important in mapping intent, I suppose, or potential for income. Yeah. And how important are those relationships, and how formal must those relationships be to have a value in terms of looking at investment? Does that make sense?
I think so. We did have some grant at the start of Juno. So we had a couple of like really brilliant partners. KPMG Foundation, Siegelman Trust, Lottery gave us a small development grant. So we could test so for example, what would better practice look like in a children's home? That grant funding helped us work with care experienced young people to understand from their perspective what would it look and feel like. So ultimately it kind of strengthened the plan, and it also it funded my job, for example. So it gave us some headroom to move forward. As I said, I think relationship-wise, the critical relationship for us was the relationship with the local authority where we were going to open our first children's home. You know, Wirral Council, when they decided to, you know, share some risk and responsibility with Juno and put some investment into the organisation, honestly, that was the thing that made us move forward. I think a lot of our other partners who were, you know, the combined authority, other investors, social investors that we were talking to, seeing that the council had skin in the game, gave them a lot of confidence that despite the fact we were new, the council was serious about working with us in a collaborative way. Does that answer your question?
I think so, but also. So we work a lot in Bradford. We connect well with public health, but the main thing there is that we work with their Sustainable Food Partnership, and we are meeting an agenda around that. So I suppose somebody mentioned right at the beginning about Liverpool's growth strategy. Are all those things, are all those background things that are a framework for social enterprises being valued in the investment sector important for social investors, or are we just looking, are we looking at spreadsheets and return on investment as well as social return on investment?
Yeah, so they are really important, but goes back to when you take on social investment, you're taking on debt for a period of time. So in order to have reassurance that you can afford that, a contract is stronger than a relationship. So if you're working with a council, some councils do SLAs, some schools do SLAs as opposed to contracts. So we understand that, but what we're looking at is the risk to you as an organisation taking on debt if you don't have something robust in place. So, for example, we had an organisation who had a contract in place, and the contract wasn't robust enough that the council said, oh, this department pays it, and nobody paid it, and it went bust. So we have to look at kind of how solid your contract is, how robust it is. The starting point is a relationship, so we understand that, but you have to understand it is debt that you're taking on as well. So you have to be comfortable that you're in a position to repay that debt. And your contract might be 3 years and the debt might be 5 years.
Yes.
But it's a starting point, isn't it, to go along. So we do understand and we do know the kind of like the nuances with councils and NHS and whatever else.
So thinking about what you've just said, in the relationship building element of if we were developing a conversation, would you support an organisation to understand contracts better, to be robust enough to be valued in an investment conversation?
So we can do, but if you have somebody on your board that has experience in this, that value is going to be a lot more independent than your lender going, well, actually, this contract isn't really worth it. So having somebody on your board to support you to enter those conversations, understand the value that you're bringing to the conversation and not just taking a contract that you may end up doing at a loss. So having somebody on your board that can actually go, well, actually, these people pay more than that.
And it's making me think about Reach Fund. Somebody's asked a question about how you access Reach Fund, which we can come back to, but that doesn't have to just pay for a business plan. That could fund legal advice.
Financial modelling.
Can somebody, a legal expert look at this contract and spot the holes? Like, you can use that money to get you to that place, even if there isn't somebody on your board who can do it with you. On a very practical note, somebody's asked, how do you access Reach funding, and do you have to be seeking debt to get the funding?
We use the Reach Fund. You have to apply through an access point, but most of the social investors that you'll come into contact with are an access point. And it's meant to be for investment readiness. So, yes, I suppose you should be seeking social investment, but I think, as we've mentioned before, if you go down that route and do the Reach Fund work and then you don't actually apply for investment, there isn't a comeback.
It is a grant, isn't it? So
It is a grant, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a grant of up to 15,000, and so you have to, when you apply as an access point, the investor supports you to do the application, because we're used to knowing what they're looking for, really, and you have to identify what work needs doing. So it might be a marketing plan, it might be financial forecasts, it might be legal advice. And so you identify what work needs doing, and then the cost of that, and that's how, it's a maximum of 15,000.
Brilliant, thanks.
The steps in the journey, the steps in the journey will be talk to a social investor, get your ducks in a row, talk to a social investor, go to...
Yeah, I mean, if the investor, thinks that, yes, they can support
So the
you with
investors
the
will
Reach
be an
Fund
access
application.
point for that fund. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose it's a seamless journey, really, because then obviously if you've done the Reach Fund work, and that can take 6 months, 12 months, and then but we'll be talking to you along that way.
Lovely. I'm so sorry. I know I'm conscious that it's 5:02 and we're meant to be finishing at 5:02. You've had your hand up. Have we got time for one last question?
Rather than a question, it's actually...
Right, I'll give it to you, Sally Ann. Oh, you're going to be...
Reiterating some of the things that the panel have talked about. So I'm Sally Ann Watkis. I'm from Home Baked Bakery, based here in Liverpool, and we've had 3 lots of social investments over our journey. We're a woman-led, working-class organisation based in the most deprived postcode in the country. So debt was always scary to our organisation. Grant was always preferable in some ways for a long part of our history. And Paula's comment about control is really, really important. What social investment gave us control about what we were delivering for our community, not what National Lottery thought our community needed, or not what somebody else thought our community needed, but actually what our community itself needed and what the people who use our services need. We started with Livv Fund, and we were one of their first grantees. With that money, we opened a pie production unit away from our main bakery. We increased our production significantly, and Paula and her team played a part in that. They measured our social value for us. They talked to us when things were hard. They talked about the flexibility and the availability to help. They gave us a step on the journey. We moved from 50% traded income to we are now 90% traded income. We started with Livv. We went to Kindred. Kindred bought us a pie machine that increased our production.
I can say firsthand, they are the best pies. Genuinely.
Increased our production 50%. They also bought us a sausage-making machine for our sausage rolls, but that's an aside. But that was tangible things that helped us grow our business, and because obviously we got the network from that as well. And the other thing is key funds. We got money from key funds. So I harp on, I'm an accountant by training, but I harp on about working capital and how challenging working capital is for social enterprises, and how nobody really thinks about it or haven't been thinking about it. And Key Fund gave us working capital.
Brilliant.
That got us out of the pandemic into... So what I would say is we gain much more from having social investment than we pay, and we get much more support from social investment than we ever get from grant funders.
Okay.
So it's worth doing.
Thanks, Sally. What a brilliant way to close. I'll wrap us up now. Big thank you, obviously, to everyone on the panel. And, I think the headline for me is whether you need a sausage machine or an exec assistant, have a look at whether social investment is for you. Thanks, Mel.
Super, thank you. Thank you to all of the panel. Thank you, Sophie, for excellent chairing. brilliant that Romanah could make it. We knew you had so much to add, and I know there was a lot of people echoing the things that you said. I'm just going to give you 2 seconds before we go to the next break. I think there are a couple of things, bits of wisdom in there I really wanted to pull up for you. So not all lenders do the same thing. Not all lenders are equal. They don't all lend the same sort of money in the same areas. Hello, Karen. I never see you there. Early conversations build trust. You've got to find the right partner. This one I love. Due diligence isn't fun, but you learn stuff along the way. In the time I've been in social investment, 10 years, I ran a social enterprise before that, and I raised investment myself. I've only found 2 organisations who enjoyed it. They're both in the East Midlands. Don't ask me why, but there we go. You need to know your numbers. Peer-to-peer experience. I love that personal board story. I thought was really important. I don't know if you know this, but 95% of all lenders, social investment lenders, are social enterprises or charities themselves. So they're not. I always have confidence that I'm sure they will not lend you money if it's the wrong thing to do. They do not want to put in you a situation where you're not going to be able to successful to deliver that impact. The other question that was online, I just thought it was really important to get out in the room, is about personal guarantees. That's one of the key differences between social investment and mainstream investment. I cannot tell you there will never be an ask for a personal guarantee, but it's very unusual. We don't expect social entrepreneurs to put their own property on the line to secure debt against. And the piece around other support and breathing room, there are a range of organisations. It is very geographically driven. So, if you're in Scotland, you've got First Port, but, the School for Social Entrepreneurs, Unlimited, Kindred here, there are a range of different organisations who might actually be able to help you with some of that. So like match trading is one of the things that you can look at. But the one I'm going to finish with, because I love this and I've never heard of this before. So, Romanah, I'm just going to take your words and move them around a little bit. So we said, acknowledge the power imbalance, but don't accept it, and see it as your superpower.